I'd like to dedicate the next 10 seconds of radio to Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
It's media night.
Cheers, everybody.
Dude, Kyle.
Yeah, boy.
And I loved it. I thought that it was a mix of relaxed with honest. And, the answers he gave were all forthright and stuff. And
but no and stuff.
And no
Man, whatever he drank, it knocked the hesitation right out of him. He was a smooth talker.
Yeah.
Let's test it again. Shall we hear his next commentary and find out if there were any stuffs or ums in there?
What's the topic, I wonder?
Brock Purdy and whether or not he's a game manager. Ready?
I'm so ready.
Here comes Kyle.
Well, it's such a weird conversation to hear the whole world talk about this, but in my opinion, there's no such thing as a great quarterback if you can't be a game manager. So I don't get how being a system quarterback and a game manager is a negative. The job of a quarterback is to manage the game, and it is to run the system. The system's what you work on all week. That's what the O-line works on. That's what your 5 eligibles work on. That's everything. And the quarterback, if you want to be great, you better be able to run that system, and you better be able to manage the game. But if you want to stay in that position, understand that no system is going to be perfect. There's going to be times where you have no answers. And if you want to stay there, you better make some plays. And that's how you become a consistent quarterback. You're a game manager, you run the system right, and you can make plays. And if you don't have those 3 things, it's a matter of time. 1 game, 2 game, 2 years, it's a matter of time. But Brock does all 3 of those things, so I don't get what we're talking about.
That was 1:08. The first one was 1:07. That's 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Not one stuff.
And no ums.
And not one
He was so right in that answer.
This dude turns into Obama after a couple of beers. He's he's delivering the greatest speech we've ever heard in our lives.
Without the pauses and the choppy delivery.
I mean, and by the way, and again, I would like to firmly state 2 things. I have no idea if Kyle had anything to drink last night.
Fine.
And I am great with it if he did. Kyle, celebrate, dude. You're in the Super Bowl and you're in Las Vegas. What the hell else are you supposed to do?
Totally.
Everybody else there is drinking.
And he's so uptight, and he's uptight in the right way.
Well, comes off that way. We actually don't know. We don't know him.
Right. I'm sure when he gets home with Mandy and the kids, he's dad and he relaxes and all the rest of it. But in his job, you have to grind.
Right.
And his laminated play sheet, if you've ever looked at it, it's in 4-point font, and there's about 1,700 plays on both sides with 4 different highlighter colors, and he's constantly marking it. That doesn't happen by accident. There's nobody who does that for him.
I was just going to say, though, so let's get that part out of the way. But with all that said, here's the other thing. If you do have, I don't know, one too many, or if your speech pattern starts to change a little bit, the word system is a tough one.
And consistent.
How many times did he say system in that answer? Count them up.
Well, it's such a weird conversation to hear the whole world talk about this, but in my opinion, there's no such thing as a great quarterback if you can't be a game manager. So I don't get how being a system quarterback and a game manager is a negative. The job of a quarterback is to manage the game, and it is to run the system. The system's what you work on all week. That's what the O-line works on. That's what your 5 eligibles work on. That's everything. And the quarterback, if you want to be great, you better be able to run that system, and you better be able to manage the game. But if you want to stay in that position, understand that no system is going to be perfect. There's going to be times where you have no answers. And if you want to stay there, you better make some plays. And that's how you become a consistent quarterback. You're a game manager, you run the system right, and you can make plays. And if you don't have those 3 things, it's a matter of time. 1 game, 2 game, 2 years, it's a matter of time. But Brock does all 3 of those things, so I don't get what we're talking about.
I don't get what we're talking about.
My favorite part is the end. I don't get what we're talking about.
Well, and he answered the whole thing. And
did.
It was
These are great answers, by the way.
6 systems, and 6 either manage the game or game managers.
Right.
And he's absolutely right in terms of what he's saying.
He's totally right.
Like the offensive line, they have to adhere to the system. And the 5 eligibles, they have to run the system. And then the quarterback has to run the system. And when things break down, if he can't make plays, well, he can get away with it for a game or 2, or maybe a year or 2. But after that, he's going to be exposed. You have to be consistent. His answer was absolutely spot on.
I like his answers better when he's had a few. I'm just saying.
No doubt.
I like his answers better. Kyle loosened, and by the way, haven't you all had these moments in your life? And it's kind of a funny thing to say, but people do this. Alcohol brings out the real you. Well, you're naked in the street. So that's not what I would call the real you. Let's go shoot free throws in our underwear. No, that's not the real you. But it breaks down your inhibitions. To me, that's the number one thing it does, right? Oh, I can't go talk to her. 2 pops. Now I can talk to her. It breaks down your hesitation. It breaks down your fears. And so sometimes that feels more honest because it breaks down your barriers. And yes, Kyle Shanahan has barriers up. Does Bill Belichick sound like he's ever got barriers up when he's talking? Okay, great. Good answer, Coach. Thanks.
Well, and you've talked to like Rich Ohrnberger, who played for him and says he's an absolute the life of the party.
Bill is not that guy, right?
Lampshade.
He's sarcastic.
Yeah.
He
comedy,
gets after it.
All that.
Yeah, he's all those things. So I guess what I'm saying here is that it does feel to me like whether it was Kyle had a few or Kyle was just in his bag or whatever it was, Kyle was really letting it rip. And so there was less hesitation with what he was saying. And I think you got some really lengthy, honest answers.
For sure.
And that's great.
And that last answer to me puts the whole thing in context in terms of what we've talked to so many people about. The idea of game manager or system quarterback and all the rest of it. They all are game managers and they all are system quarterbacks. It's a question of whether or not you can operate in the system and still be good.
I'm sorry. This is just a comment that just came through on our YouTube page that I think captures it perfectly. If you've seen a certain movie and know it well. Life's Lemons just texted in, through the quad to the gymnasium. Exactly.
It's old school.
Exactly. You're in Vegas. But listen, I mean, Dibs, you know this. Like, this is going to, I'm actually surprised we haven't seen more of this. This is going to bother somebody. And maybe it's not bothering anybody yet because you don't know the final score.
Right.
But if the 49ers go out and lose by 10, yesterday's going to come back. That's my only concern about this. My concern is not whether or not the Niners are going to be ready. My concern is not the behavior of anybody involved with the traveling party whatsoever. My concern is that this is unfairly going to be thrown back into the faces of the 49ers should things not go well on Sunday.
Or the fact that they weren't able to prepare properly because the field wasn't good enough and the Niners felt that the field was too soft and so they couldn't get properly prepared for the big game. Whatever happens, there's always going to be something that fans point to as the reason why they lose. And if Kyle Shanahan gets loose on a Monday night, if he did, and we don't even know if he did or not, if that's the reason why you think that they lose, well, that's a you problem.
Agreed completely on this one. But I also got to say, like, this has been kind of a surprising start to the week. I remember we're all watching online. I think a lot of us were, as the Chiefs and 49ers both landed in Vegas on Sunday night. Great video from both of the planes as all of them walk off. And look, you're looking at two teams. One of them in particular seems like they're here almost every year. 49ers have at least been flirting with it a lot in the last 5 years, and their second trip here, even though there are some players who have never done it before. But as these two teams are getting off the plane, you're like, dude, this is the Chiefs and the Niners. Like, this is a serious matchup. These are two organizations that know what they're doing. And they're buttoned up, and they're professional, and this is going to be high-level stuff. The more I think about it, I just really didn't expect the Chiefs to be here. But now that we're here, the more I think about it, this probably should have been the matchup we all wanted. This is probably the matchup America should have wanted. It's got a rematch feel to it. It's got the face of the league involved in it going up against Mr. Irrelevant. There's nothing more poetic or movie-like than that. It's got Kyle Shanahan versus Andy Reid. For most people's money, that's the two best play callers in the game. Anyway, with all that said, they arrive, and 48 hours later, we're having conversations about effort. We've got sod on a field at a college, an argument with the commissioner of the league, and Kyle Shanahan, who potentially had a few pops before a press conference, which we've never seen before. That is not how I expected the start of this week to look.
Right, but it's always something. And
Sure.
You've been to enough of these to where it's always something. And whether it's deer antler spray, or if it's a player who goes off the reservation and goes to Mexico, or another one who goes in the strip club and gets arrested, or whatever it is, the snow in Dallas, or every week there's always going to be something in the Super Bowl that is going to be something that sends us off the rails in terms of what we're actually talking about.